This enormous 120,000 square meter man-made marvel is home to the world's biggest display of dancing fountains. But we're not here for the fountains, even if they can shoot water 150 meters into the air. Instead, we're here for something much, much bigger. So this is Burj Khalifa in Dubai, or 800 dizzying meters of it. It's a towering skyscraper that stands 200 meters taller than any other building on Earth. Now, the major question is, how do you engineer the tallest building in the world to withstand the electric storms, fierce winds, and soaring temperatures of a country like Dubai? In fact, the major slap in the face is experienced when you discover that behind the bit veneer of buildings and city around it, Burj Khalifa is standing merely on soft sand. If we take a look at Burj Khalifa's foundation, we would find this wing-looking shape, which is grounded by a bunch of concrete rafts that extend below the soil for about 10 floors deep. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can such a heavy thing not sink into the soft sand? Well, to find out, I read zillions of research papers written by the actual structural engineer of this building, Bill Baker, in which he explained how friction alone is the main factor that helps prevent this gigantic tower from succumbing to the downward pull of gravity and sinking into the sand. But doesn't it still seem inconceivable that the world's tallest building is held up by something as simple as friction generated between 194 concrete shafts driven into mere sand? But what you didn't expect is that friction is one of the strongest forces on the planet, and I'm going to prove this to you through a simple experiment.
So basically in this experiment, what I did is that I interleaved two notebooks together, page by page. Actually, you can't really see it, but what I did is that I literally joined those two notebooks on like page by page basis. And so what we're gonna see is that if we can separate those two notebooks by playing a tug of war with Aya here. Let's go.
Let's go.
1, 2, 3, go.
It seems harder than I thought.
Yeah, oh my god. We're actually trying our hardest right now. Exactly. So this basically just demonstrates the force of friction. If you can't believe us, I'm gonna try to separate it like in front of you. Like, here we go. She's holding that end, and I'm holding that end. So there's no any trick going on here. Now, if you want to see an extreme side of it, there's actually a video of people doing it with cars. Imagine two cars doing a tug of war, trying to separate this thing. Physics is mind-blowing, isn't it?
Okay, now that we have clarified how this gigantic tower stands on sand, we have to ask ourselves, what happens when it's really put to the test? And by that, I'm referring to Dubai's sandstorms and fierce winds that travel up to 100 kilometers per hour, which obviously is a big problem for big buildings like the Burj Khalifa. So the question is, will its foundation, that is held just by friction, be able to withstand such fierce storms? To give you a little bit of context, when wind swirls around a building, it forms small whirlwinds called vortices. These alternating pockets of low air pressure can create forces on the building that can cause it to rock from side to side like this. But why are these vortices a problem? Because if you didn't know before, all towers actually sway a little bit with the wind. In other words, some movement is not dangerous.
Now, to understand why this movement can't be dangerous, we have to look at something called simple harmonic motion. If you didn't know before, all skyscrapers have this natural frequency, the rate at which they like to vibrate. Just like this swing, if I push it gently, it will settle back into its natural frequency eventually. Now here's where it gets fun. Imagine the swing is a skyscraper, and my legs are the wind. On a perfectly flat-faced symmetrical skyscraper, the wind could actually work with the natural frequency of the swing to increase the rate at which I'm swaying, which is what's happening right now as the time goes by. Now, this in simple terms is called harmonic resonance. On a swing, we use harmonic resonance to make us go higher. But on the world's tallest building, it could cause it to sway more and more until it eventually topples over. Take, for example, the Tacoma bridge collapse.
Tacoma Bridge, Washington, opened only a few months ago, was built at a cost of over $6 million. But misfortune overtakes the great structure. These are some of the most amazing pictures ever recorded by a newsreel. The actual collapse of the world's third largest suspension bridge. Only a 35-mile-an-hour wind is blowing, but this apparently sets up a rhythmic swinging of the bridge, which increases with each swing. Finally, the swinging road and the suspension cables give way and plunge into the water below. Fortunately, the only casualties were a car stalled on the bridge and a dog.
So, to stop that from happening, Bill Baker and his colleagues had to do something called confusing the wind. In order to make sure that the wind is rather truly confused, Burj Khalifa isn't square like a traditional skyscraper. Instead, it's Y-shaped. It gets narrower as it rises. Its edges are curved, and its cross-section is constantly changing, which is the main feature why this design breaks out the force of the wind, preventing it from ever being organized.
So basically what the Burj does is what my legs are doing now, which is not working in harmony with the natural frequency of the swing. And that's why, as you can see, there's barely any swinging, happening. Also, I only have 2 legs, but the Burj effectively has like 27 different levels. So imagine 27 different levels breaking out the force of the wind and preventing the Burj from collapsing and establishing harmonic resonance.
And that's it. This is how Burj Khalifa is still standing on its feet. I hope you found this video entertaining and informative as well. We're just going to conclude it with some bloopers to make you laugh. Until next time!
Building. This is actually caused the building to topple over. Hello!
Many unbearable hours later.
Push it gently, it will eventually settle back into its natural frequency.
I like that.
2,000 years later.
To understand why this movement can be dangerous.
Yeah.